Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a little bit of a different video. We're not doing a makeup tutorial. We are talking about sponges. This was highly requested, so I'm finally getting around to doing this video. I'm so sorry that it took me so long to film this, but it took me forever to find the EcoTools sponge because I don't know if it was because it was right after Christmas, but I literally couldn't find the sponge. Now, I know that the EcoTools usually comes in a green color. This is the EcoTools one right here. But I think because this is a holiday one, this is like the gray one. But just so you know, it's the exact same shape, it's the same everything, exact same sponge, it's just a different color. So if you have the green one at home, just take note, it's the same sponge, this is the EcoTools, but for some reason it came in the gray one instead of the green one. And this one is the Real Techniques one. This one is, I think it's always in this orange bright color. I buy my Real Techniques sponges at Ulta. I usually buy them in the pack. And the EcoTools one I did buy today at Target, but I know that you can also buy both of these at Ulta. So in case you're looking for a new sponge, these ones are really great. I've heard really good things about this, although I haven't personally tried it, but I wanted to talk about what they do and what they are and how to use them. The biggest thing that I want to talk about and the number one crucial part to owning a sponge that I don't think A, a lot of people know, or B, like why do I need to do that, is getting your sponge damp. So you don't really want to use your sponges dry. This one in this hand right here is a dry sponge. You'll notice the shape of them, the size of them is completely different. So this one right here is very large because this one is a damp, ready to go sponge. This one is just dirty. I literally just got done doing my makeup and this is the one I used. So this is a clean one and it's dry. So the size difference is very obvious. You always want to make sure you get it wet though, because you'll notice that the density of the sponge changes. And this is because it's not going to absorb as much product. It's the right density to apply your foundation or your concealer or your liquid highlighters or whatever you're using your sponge for. It really just disperses the product evenly. It makes it look a lot more airbrushed and flawless. If you went in and used whichever sponge, whichever one dry, it would kind of look patchy. It wouldn't go on as smooth. It doesn't look as like nice finish. It doesn't look as airbrushed. So you always want to make sure that you get any sponge that you have, you want to get it damp, whether it's the Real Techniques one, the EcoTools, or the original Beauty Blender. Any one that you get, you want to use them wet. I've seen lots of different sponges on the market, and honestly, the shape of these two are my favorite, and I'm going to tell you why. So the Real Techniques one, it has a little point, which is really nice to get up underneath your eye to apply your concealer. It's also really nice to apply contour if you're going to use a cream contour. I wouldn't necessarily use powder products with sponges unless you're going to be using like a setting powder or a loose powder that you just kind of like want to dust over an area, or you want to bake. Baking would be like, let me show you, for example, let me show you the wet sponge. This is a wet beauty sponge. Take your powder and you can like clean up underneath your contour. Hopefully you can kind of see on camera that it really just sharpened up my contour area. So you can use a powder product with a sponge like that. Other than that, I wouldn't use any sort of like a pressed powder. I would just use it for like a setting powder or a blotting powder, just like this. And because it's wet, it makes the powder look way less cakey. So if you do look kind of cakey, when you use something that is like wet sponge, it kind of helps melt it in because it's not as dry. It's not just sitting there on the skin. So that's another thing for you guys to know. But what I was mentioning is that I really honestly like the shape of these two compared to any of them on the market. The reason being is because this one has a point. It's really nice, again, to get up underneath here and then clean up any areas where you want a little bit more of a sharp line. But I really like this flat end right here because this is pretty large once you get it wet. And applying your foundation makes it so much quicker, easier, smoother process, which I can appreciate, especially working on shoots or bridal where I have a certain amount of time that I need to get my clients done. So I really just like that this expands when you get it wet, obviously. It just makes it much more convenient. And I actually use the side here to blend out my contour or apply a liquid highlighter. So get creative. You can really use this sponge for anything, but I think that sponges really change the way that your foundation look, because if you use a brush, sometimes you can see the streaks. Like sometimes when you have a kabuki brush and you go to apply it and you like buff it in, sometimes if you look really close, you can actually see the little lines, the little hairs. Sometimes if I apply my foundation with a brush, I'll go over top really fast with a sponge just so it like sets it and it doesn't look like it has lines or you can see the brush hairs. So that's another trick for you. And with this guy, the EcoTools one, this one has a really great shape too. The reason being is because this has the little line at the top. Again, it makes it super easy to clean up if you want to really carve out your contour with a powder. It also makes it really easy to contour the side of your nose if you're using a cream contour. I wouldn't use this again with any sort of powder products at all, unless it is something like a finishing powder or just to kind of dust over top to absorb any oil, something like that. I would use this for that. Again, once you get this damp, this one is dry, but once you get this damp, it will expand, and I really like the egg-shaped bottom because that again makes it really easy to apply your foundation really quickly. And the shape of this one is really nice for underneath the eyes to apply concealer, or you could flip it and use it on the side right here, the flat side, and apply a liquid highlighter. It's really honestly a great sponge shape. I've seen some that are really thin and they come to a really tiny point, and the problem with that is it's not thick enough and it doesn't disperse the product as well. So honestly, my opinion, these two are the best shape that I prefer and I like the most. But the biggest thing out of anything when you own a sponge is to make sure that you get it underwater. You want to soak it up and wring it out at least like 20 times. So it's, when you squeeze it, there's no more water that's coming out, but it is definitely damp and it's a lot more spongy and it doesn't absorb the products like a dry sponge would. So that is my little advice for you guys on the sponges. You can buy both of these sponges at Ulta, whether you're buying the EcoTools or the Real Techniques one. You can also buy them at Target, and I do believe you can buy them at Walgreens. Another question that I get asked is, how long will my sponge last? I usually use my sponge almost every day, so imagine that's like 30 days, obviously, so 1 month. I would say that mine lasts about 2 to 3 months. What happens with mine is they will get like little tears in them. I've actually thrown away all my old ones that needed to be thrown away, thank goodness. But they'll start to get like little holes where they start to rip, they start to tear. Because I'm constantly cleaning all of my stuff, they'll get little holes in them. So I just eventually just throw it away and get a new one. But I would say they would last you roughly, if you used it almost every day, they would last you about 2 months for sure. The other thing is too, is sometimes I know when to throw mine away is because I constantly clean it, and then it just looks, the stains don't come out really, and it starts to just look pretty dingy looking. It doesn't really hold its density that, you know, when you first get it, you realize how nice it is. So I like to buy mine in a pack though. I'm not sure if the EcoTools ones comes in a pack, but the Real Techniques ones definitely come in a pack. So if you're looking to have a couple on hand, try out the Real Techniques one, because you can buy that at Ulta, and I think the pack is like $19.99 for 4 of them. So it's a pretty good deal. I really like these. Another little random tip that you can do with yours, I'm just gonna use the Real Techniques one because it's already damp and I just used it. But I like to use my setting sprays as well. So after my makeup is all done, I will go ahead and just spritz the side of the sponge. And I'll just take my mirror and kind of just go like this right over my face. And what this is it's gonna set everything in place. And it makes the setting spray sink in really quick, and it honestly locks in your foundation way longer throughout the day. And it also will take away any powdered look, again, because this has that perfect density. It melts everything into the skin so much easier. So that's another trick for you guys to have that. Just use your setting spray over all of your sponges. And then last but not least, you definitely want to make sure that you're cleaning your sponges. This is super important, especially for professionals, which I'm sure that you all know that you have to clean all of your stuff. You can't use anything on someone that you just prior used on somebody. But for people who use their sponges on themselves, let's be real, I'm also super lazy, because the last thing that I want to have to clean after I've cleaned everything all day long for all of my clients is the things that go on my face. So normally I clean a sponge once every week or so, or a couple weeks. I mean, you don't want to push it out too far. I mean, if you could clean your sponge every single day for every use, that would be ideal. But I wouldn't go longer than like a week, 2 weeks, you know, your preference. But the longer that you go between your washes, the more likely you're spreading germs on your own face or having breakouts or anything like that. So just make sure you keep your stuff clean. And I always use this guy right here. This is the Dr. Bronner's Lavender Bar Soap. This stuff is awesome. I buy mine at Target. I believe I pay $4.99 or $5.99 at Target for this. This is my secret to keeping all of my sponges clean, all of my brushes clean. I clean everything with this, and it's really nice because it comes in the bar. This one's a brand new one, so it comes in this beautiful purple package, and it's just like, it's literally just a bar soap. I'm sure you've all seen a bar soap, but literally it's just a bar soap is all it is. And then I will take my brushes under the sink and just run it across here, you know, squeeze out all of the excess out of the bristles, go again until there's no product left on the brushes. Same thing for my sponges. I literally run this over, squeeze it out a few times under the water. Again, I just clean both sides all around. For my brushes for my clients, I spray everything down with alcohol because I like to be double sanitary. And then I have spot cleaner sprays that I can clean without using water. But I'm specifically talking right now about the way to clean your sponge. This would be a great way, and it's so much less expensive than buying like a Beauty Blender solid cleaner. Honestly, this works just fine, and it's not that expensive at all, so I really like that. Hopefully this video helps answer any questions that you have about your sponges. Again, you can buy both of these at Ulta or Target, and they're game changers. They're game changers. You definitely need at least some sort of sponge in case you decide you want to apply your foundation other than using a brush. Give one of these guys a try. Biggest tip for you, please use them wet. Make sure that they are like damp. Wring out all the water, and you'll watch it grow. It definitely expands, and that's when you know that you used your sponge correctly. So yeah, if you have any more additional questions, please leave them down in the comment section below. I will definitely reply to you guys. And until next time, I'll see you soon.